Hi there, welcome to video number 4. Trying to explain how I use X's and O's and my X-Touch Mini in this thing called MC mode. Well, it's emulating MC mode, so it gives me more layers on my X-Touch than just the layer A and layer B. And in fact, I'm using 5 layers for this particular aircraft. What I thought I'd do quickly is just show you the solution working, see how it works, what it looks like, and then I'll show you what's behind the scenes to make this work. So I need to get into my flight simulator, and I'm going to put a virtual window up here so you can see the camera on my actual Stream Deck, so you can see what's going on there. So what I'm trying to overcome firstly is working out which a way of knowing which layer I'm in, and also remembering what on earth each of the various buttons and that do for all the different layers, because there's lots to remember. So part of the solution is using this thing called a virtual Stream Deck. As part of the Stream Deck software, let's bring the Stream Deck software in. As part of the software now, you've got not only the ability to program your actual physical Stream Deck, but you can create a virtual Stream Deck, which is a fully functioning Stream Deck. You can click on it and make buttons work, but I'm just using it as a display at the moment, so you can see what the controls do on the layer that I'm in. So you can control that, and I've got one key press in here, Control Alt X, so I can turn it on, turn it off if I need to. Normally I have this on a second monitor, but I'll put it on the top left hand corner here so you can see that. So when you create it, you tell it how big you want it, up to a maximum of 4x8, and you can change the size of the keys. You can change the size of the display as well. It automatically adjusts the font size. You've got no control over that, to make it fit in the space when you use the label, and we'll look at that later on in this video. So let's sort of move this out of the way. You don't need to have the Stream Deck software visible running. It will automatically, as soon as you start your computer, it will give you the ability to do the Control Alt and X and bring that up at any time. Let's get some power going. So that's one thing I want to do. The second thing I want to do is to have an indicator on here showing me which level I'm at. So if I change level here, hopefully you can see that different indicator lights come up to show which level I'm actually working in, and that works if I change level with the slider as well. You can see the text changing in the virtual Stream Deck and an indicator light showing what level I'm actually working on. So those are the kind of about the levels. As far as these are concerned, what I want to happen is if I use the click on here, I want to be able to change mode. So at the moment I'm in the comms 1 layer, so this will automatically be doing the kilohertz here, and if I press on that to toggle it, I'm now doing the megahertz, and you can see this lit all the LEDs up. They're all light to show me it's that level. If I go to the comms 2 layer, this will now be doing the same thing with these kilohertz and megahertz. And I'm going to put that back on kilohertz, because what I want to show you is that as I go back to the comms 1 layer, that's remembered the state that it's in and lit the LEDs appropriately. So when I change layers, it kind of brings back the state, so everything has been held. So let's sort of go through and work out and show you how that's all working. So let's clear the display up a little bit, and we'll bring using PowerPoint here to sort of step myself through. and guide myself through the script, so you're sort of seeing in a logical order. So for the rotary LEDs, as I said, I want it to show me which mode the toggle the rotary is in, and to remember it and retain the settings. If you watch the previous videos, you'll remember that each of the rotaries, I have an array for it. And so it knows what the state is for each of the different panels, each of the different layers. So we've got the information there. There would be another array for rotary 1, rotary 2, and so on. So we've got that information. So it's relatively easy to use a script here. So I've got this script that's running all the time in the background, which says look at the array for the first rotary, check for the level we're on, and if it's a 0 in there, just turn off all of the LEDs. So this is sending a 0 to, it's actually labeled rotary 9 as far as the X touch is concerned. The next one along is rotary 10, rotary 11, and it's doing the same just for each of the rotaries, just checking the appropriate array for the level we're on at the moment, and see if it's a 0, turn it off. If it's a 1, turn it on. And to turn all the LEDs on, you send a 27, and it turns all the LEDs on. So that's just running constantly in the background. If I bring in my axes and O's, I'll show you where that is. So on axes and O's, in the scripting area here, you've got aircraft automated scripts. So it's not global, that'll be running for every aircraft you ever run, but this is the one you want for this particular aircraft. And for that rotary LED, you've already written the script and saved it somewhere, so you hunt it down and you tell it that it's repeating, and click on add, and it adds it to the list. You can change the speed that it runs at, the delay, but I don't think that's made any difference to me when I've changed the values there. So I've left it at the default, and then that's it. Okay, so there is an automated script constantly running in the background, just checking what layer we're on and what the state of it is. So as soon as you change the state, if you're live on that panel, it just changes it. So that's how that works. I said I've got the LEDs that's on the buttons, the actual soft buttons, to light up when I change levels. So if I change level, turn off all the buttons I'm using, just turn them off, and then turn on the one for the level that we're at. So if I'm in level index 0, then the first button will light up. Then if I'm on level 4, yeah, it'll light up the appropriate one. Now I don't run that constantly in the background. I only use this script when I change a level. So if I change level, then I use either the Stream Deck or the slider, then call that script to update the display. So the big job really is labeling this virtual Stream Deck. Now you may not want to use the Stream Deck, so you can still go ahead and use the lighting up of the LEDs and that sort of stuff on the X Touch, but I've incorporated the two together for me, so it uses the virtual Stream Deck. But I'll sort of explain how you can jump over this step if you want to. This is the method for the virtual Stream Deck. What I do is I use one more array. This time it's called a string array. The previous ones were numeric arrays. This is an array that holds the strings, the text. So there's only one of them, and I call it my panel. And automatically, as you add values into it, the array will grow and it will index it automatically sequentially. So if I was in the very first panel, that's the overhead panel, the labels will be the wipers, the floodlights, the instrument lights, etc, etc, etc. And what we do is, as we change layers, we reload the values, the text values into the array. So there's one array, but being reloaded each time we change levels. So to do that, what we do is we create a text file for each of the different layers, and you put the text you want for the buttons on separate lines. If there's no text, what I do is I just put a placeholder, put a hyphen in fact, and I've saved all those. When I bring this across into a folder, and I know the pathway for that folder, and they're all the different text files for the different layers. So next thing is to load the array, and this is it. This is the text. This is the actual script I use to load the array. I load it once at the very beginning, and I'll show you how I do that. And then whenever I change layers, it's going to call this script here. So there's the string array, my panel, and you clear it. You just wipe all the values out, and then you work out which layer you're on and load that text file. So if I was on the one with the index 2, it would use the full pathway to get the panel 2's text, load it, and write that into the array, my panel. So you need this character here, which is called a pipe, and it's on the bottom left hand corner of the keyboard, next to the shift key. So shift and that, well, on my keyboard that's where it is actually, and you just type in that pipe that says get this and put it there, and you would fill up the array. And then right at the very bottom, because you've changed layers, now that's where I call the change, the one that controls the LEDs for the X touch to show what layer I'm on. Okay, so I need to load one by default at the very beginning. So again, it's one of these aircraft automated scripts. So I've written that load array one there, and it will load array 0, load the indexed 0, the overhead panel by default, because it will start off with 0 by default. And this is just a one shot. It just runs once at the beginning. This is irrelevant because it's not being repeated. So it's one shot at the beginning just to load the array in and get it populated. So each button that's on your virtual Stream Deck is just a text gauge. I might as well do it with actual my actual Stream Deck software and talk you through it. So it's a text gauge, and it's going to get its value to put in here using a script as an S value, and it's using the string array called my panel, and get whatever is in slot 0, put it in here. This one here, it'll be exactly the same command, but you're going to get what is in slot 1 and put it in. So these, once you've created one, you just go ahead and copy, paste, and adjust that number. So it doesn't take that long to get this completely populated. This one here is getting value number 9 and putting it in. So just sequentially work your way across to the end. So when you change levels on this, if I change levels now, you'll see that it's rewriting what's going in, because it's just going through the array and pulling those values out. So that's how that works. I said you can't control the size of the text from here. It's done automatically. The buttons I use to change the layers, I already showed that in a previous one. All you're doing is you're writing the correct value into the panel index, and that will change that. But you then have to call the load array function, which is a script that you've written. So I use two events here. As you press the key down, it sends the value, and as you let go of the key, it then goes off and loads the array, And as you saw, that load array function also has the calls the function to change the display on the X-Touch. So everything's all sort of controlled from that. If you use the slider to change levels, we've already got our text, our script there for the increase. So when I push the slider up, then it will add 1 to the ID, as long as we're not going over our limit of 4. So change that value. So I've added this line to the bottom of that, so that it changes, it does the load array, so it changes the text. A load array will also change the LEDs on the X-Touch, so that one calls the other. And there will also be the same thing on the script to go down the levels, which will be, we've already seen on a previous video, you'll be taking 1 off of the value, subtracting it, just checking you haven't gone below 0. So that's it. That's the level changes. Level changes trigger the text change, and the text change triggers the LED on your X-Touch, so you can see where you are. So that's it. It's a bit of work to make it work, a bit of planning to make it work. And if I just go back into my cockpit now, and again, if I bring up my X-Touch and I'll bring up my camera, and that's it. That's everything working. That's, again, if I use the slider and slide my way up, the indicators are working. It's remembering the state that the buttons were in, and everything works really, really well. Okay, I hope that's been useful to you. That's kind of the end of this sequence of videos. What I'll do is, over time, I'll go through the actual details for what's behind here for this particular aircraft. You might want to watch that anyway, even if you haven't got this aircraft, because I'll show you, it'll show the techniques I use to hunt down and find the various functions. But I'm going to have a little break from making videos for a while, and go and fly this, and make sure the layout's working, make sure it's all debugged, and then come back and show you how it works. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope that's been useful to you.